Hello and welcome back to this week's Scope of Sports live show. I'm Leo Rivera IV.
And I'm Matt Spivak.
And today we have an exciting rundown of all things Colorado sports.
Starting off our show, a look from Patrick Dawson recapping the devastating football loss to Kansas State last weekend.
What's up, fans? I'm Patrick Dawson here for Scope of Sports at Folsom Field. Colorado Buffaloes just dropped their first conference loss to the Kansas State Wildcats here on Saturday night. It was an 8:15 p.m. kickoff. Incredibly late game once again. Pac-12 after dark isn't dead after all. Shedeur Sanders had a up and down game. The first half was marred by pressure. Took a lot of bad sacks today. Threw another interception. He's already usurped his previous total from last year of 3. He's at 4 this season just in 6 games. The team overall 4-2 once again, just like last year. Some might say the trajectory this year is much better than it was last year. However, given the blowout to Oregon and then the tough loss to USC, the Buffs looked pretty good in the second half. The defense struggled to contain the run, over 200 yards given up on the ground, but they dealt with a lot of injuries offensively. 4 wide receivers down: Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, Terrell Simmons, and Amari Miller all went down today. They're all top starters on this team essentially, but this team battled hard. They almost came back, had a chance with the ball on the last drive of the game. Didn't quite go the way they wanted to with a no call and a touchy pass interference on the last drive. But yeah, the Buffs look to refocus coming off the bye week. 1-1 in conference, first year back in the Big 12. Trajectory is still, in general, upwards. And I think that's all we have to talk about right now. Catch the post-game show on our YouTube. I've been Patrick Dawson for Scope Sports here at Folsom Field.
The Buffs saw a handful of injuries last week, losing Travis Hunter in the first half, but good news, he will be back tomorrow. Hunter, along with Jimmy Horn Jr., are active for Saturday's 2 p.m. kickoff, but receivers Omarion Miller and Terrell Timmons both remain on the IR.
The Buffaloes' loss to Kansas State was a disappointing one, to say the least. On the other hand, Shedeur Sanders had a career day, breaking 3 school records. Shedeur's 16 straight completions is the most in school history. The quarterback completed 85% of his passes on 34 of 40 attempts, which is the highest completion percentage in CU history with 30 or more attempts. It's time now for Buff Banner, this week's topic, all about Shiloh.
Good evening. My name is Colby Wyatt, here with this week's Buff Banner. So let's address the elephant in the room. Shiloh Sanders had no business playing as much as he did against Kansas State, and it's incredibly hard to argue that his playing time wasn't a result of his father being the coach. Now, this isn't a piece about Shiloh's college career. It's just simply saying that he played way too bad to not have been benched during the game, that he shouldn't have started, and should not automatically start next week. He missed too many tackles, including one that led to a big play which was crucial in Kansas State's last scoring drive. And of course, everyone has seen the video of him getting absolutely folded. And I don't remember any other players being juked into the earth quite like that. But even from the beginning of the game, it was clear Shiloh didn't belong. He took questionable routes to get to the ball carrier, and most plays, he seemed more concerned with hitting receivers as hard as possible than he was with actually playing safety. Now, of course, you can argue that this game was just him shaking off the rust since it's his first game back, but if he's got rust, he shouldn't be in every play. Shiloh should have, at most, taken a lot less snaps to get eased back into playing. Now, Dion admitted after the game that his son was terrible. So why was Shiloh left in the game when he knew he was playing terribly? Now, while the game against Kansas State is in the past, we still have plenty of high-stake games. Shiloh should not automatically be a starter versus Arizona this week, but I fear he will be. Even Shiloh himself saying he played terribly supports the idea that he needs more time, and we can't afford to run him out there against Arizona when the defense performed so well while he was gone. However, as I said, I'm sure Shiloh will end up starting, and if he was to have another terrible game without being benched, then surely Dion will have to address why Shiloh is left in to contribute against our team. Now, that's all I have for you for our Buff Banner. Again, thank you for listening. My name is Colby Wyatt, and let's go back to the show.
The preseason Big 12 media polls could not have been more wrong about who would sit atop the Big 12. There's a 3-way tie for first place between BYU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. All of those teams are 3-0 in conference play. Colorado sits among the 2-1 teams, a group that includes Arizona State University and Kansas State. To read about scenarios needed for each of the teams to make the Big 12 championship, read Colby Wyatt's article on our website at scopeupsports.com.
Football's next home game.
Hi, welcome back.
is against Cincinnati, where you could have guessed it, they have another 8:15 p.m. start time. Every home bout for the Buffs this season has been a primetime game, with the game against the Bearcats being the second 8:15 start time. You gotta feel bad for those East Coast fans who will be up until 2 a.m. watching the game. We will now hear from Nick and Balin on their thoughts about the Buffs in Arizona on Sunday.
Hi, welcome back, Buff fans, to our regular preview of the game ahead. It is very cold out here in Boulder. However, the Buffs are going to hot and sunny Tucson, Arizona, against a team that I was very worried to play at the start of the season, Balin, but they've just kind of fizzled out, basically.
Yeah, so right now Arizona sits at a 3-3 record. They're coming off back-to-back losses off Texas Tech and the 14th-ranked BYU. So they have one impressive win under their belt this season against the 10th-ranked Utah over in Week 4. But, I mean, overall, this should be a game that's won by the Buffaloes. If you look at Arizona, like their stats, quarterback has 9 interceptions compared to 8 touchdowns on the year. They have good threats on offense, but they don't have that true superstar standout player. So it's, like you said, it's a team that we had higher expectations for at the beginning of the year. But now once this game has come around, it feels like this is sort of the bus game to lose. So.
Yeah, it felt like we had a Heisman candidate on that team. Tet McMillan, I think he had over 150 receiving yards his first week. He was a threat. And then other teams realized, oh, wait, that's their only receiver. And they've been double-teaming him all year, which should not be working. But it just has. They really shut him down after that amazing Week 1 performance. Yeah,
for sure. They got game on the ground with Quali Conley. Sorry, I'm not saying that right, but 458 yards on the season, 6 touchdowns, averaging 5.6 average yards per run. So that's pretty good. We know the Buffs defense has struggled against a run. So, I mean, I think if we can get on that early, that can definitely be a good way to limit the damage, kind of run the game.
Yeah, you mentioned defense. I mean, the secondary was all we talked about in Buff Banner. As you heard Colby Wyatt earlier talking about Shiloh, and that's kind of a big strange spot right now. But with a team like Arizona and such a one-dimensional wide receiving game, they have no excuse but to shut them down. Yeah. And if the Buff secondary can't, they're not going to compete at all in the Big 12. That's just putting it bluntly.
Yeah. The consensus was after the game that we don't know if Shiloh Sanders should be starting on the defense. If he could sort of more come in as a rotation. He said himself he had the worst game of his career last week, and I mean it showed. The Wildcats really ran through our secondary last week, and our defense. I mean, it started pretty poor, has gotten better a little bit. We are tied 3rd in FBS, or tied 73rd, in FBS for points per game. We have given up 31 points 3 times this season, so I think if we can kind of control it early, like I said, stop that run game early, the defense should have a good game on their hands.
Yeah, and let's talk Heisman a little bit. We thought the contentious number 1 game would be this week, and now it seems like Hunter's number 2.
Yeah.
We have Genty right now, who looks to be pitching a unanimous Heisman race. What can Hunter do over the next few weeks to kind of take that award back?
I mean, I think Travis said it himself. We've seen a good running back before win the Heisman, but we haven't, at least recently, seen a very good player that plays it on 2 sides of the ball and plays twice as many snaps as Genty does. So in my mind, obviously might be a little biased. It's still Travis Hunter for me. I still think he's the best college football player in the nation right now, but everywhere else doesn't really agree. ESPN's midseason Heisman votes has Genty in 1st and Hunter in 2nd. Then it kind of goes downhill. BetMGM for Heisman odds has Hunter behind Dylan Gable. So Hunter's at plus 800, Ashton Genty's at plus 150, and then Dylan Gabriel's at 350. Then DraftKings has Travis Hunter in 5th behind Genty, Gabriel, Cam Ward, and Jalen Milroe. So, I mean, we'll see what he can do. I think this game, I think being out last week definitely did a little bit of a number on his stats, but I think that should be kept in their minds when they vote this December.
Yeah, and here's a little bit of a trivia. It hasn't been since Roger Staubach that a G5 person has won the Heisman, and it hasn't been since Charles Woodson since a 2-way player has won it. We've seen plenty of running backs win it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the most recent.
Derrick Henry,
2016 Bama.
Yeah.
And you had a wide receiver. You had Devontae Smith, but that QB class, as I said a couple weeks ago, was horrible. Yeah. That's not going to be the same thing here. It's two-way against halfback. We never see that in the Heisman race. This is a pretty special one.
It's special because there's no quarterbacks that are like kind of the two favorites right now. But a little injury update for the Buffs. Travis Hunter, thankfully back in the game. Jimmy Horn Jr. back in the lineup, but Omarion Miller and Terrell Timones are both out. In my mind, I think that's the reason we lost last week against Kansas State. If we have Travis Hunter in playing in the game for that last drive, I think he would be the X factor and we'd end up winning. But
yeah, and it's time for predictions now, Balin. I'll start with mine. I have 30-13. I you know what? I'm a bit of a sicko. I think that 13 is all is going to be nothing but field goals and missed PATs. I see Arizona driving on us a lot, the way that K-State did. I don't see them finishing a lot. They'll be like last year's like Packers or Commanders, where they just get into the red zone so many times, but they can never finish. And I think he had that 30-13. I was wrong last week in my prediction. I thought K-State would get completely stifled. I think this time that actually happens this time around, and I have 30-13.
Yeah, I got Buffs 28-14. I think we are in control the whole game. I think we have 21 points at the half. I think our offense sort of slows down, but we see a really good performance on the defense. Not a lot of field goals. I'm going Buffs 28-14.
Well, that'll about do it. I said a very, very big rebound week for the Buffaloes coming up, and very hot Tucson, Arizona. We've got the latest on the basketball season, which is very fast approaching. Stay tuned after this break. You're watching ScoBuff Sports.
Over in Springfield, Massachusetts on Sunday, Colorado alum Chauncey Billups was inducted into the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. The 2004 Finals MVP is also a Denver native. Here's what Mr. Big Shot had to say at his induction ceremony about growing up and playing for the Buffaloes.
And these guys would ask me questions, knowing I'm from Denver, saying like, do you ski? Or do you ride horses? And by the way, I still don't ski or ride horses. But I went the unconventional route, to be honest with you, turning down a lot of bigger name schools to go right down the road in Boulder to play for Ricardo Patton in Colorado at the University of Colorado. Go Buffs, baby. Go Buffs, by the way.
For a detailed look about Chauncey Billups' underdog story to the Hall of Fame, check out Nick Evans' article on our website, ScoBuffSports.com.
The men's basketball team played in their annual black and gold scrimmage this past week, giving us a peek at the all-new Buffs roster. Let's send you to Liam Howard after the scrimmage, who gives us a new look Colorado Buffaloes.
I'm Liam Howard with ScoBuff Sports here at the CU Event Center at the conclusion of the first men's basketball scrimmage. Buffs players were rotating across both scrimmage teams today, but regardless of what 5 men were on the court for either team, defense was prominent. Forward Bango Dak and center Elijah Malone led the way defensively for their teams, both making their presence known in the paint, but guard Harris and Carrington did register 4 dunks in the game, being the highlight on the offensive side for the Buffs. Buffalo's first game will be right back here at the CU Event Center this Saturday at 3 o'clock. We'll see you then.
This Saturday, the men's basketball team kicks off their season against Pomona Pitzer. The game will be an exhibition against the Division III Pomona squad. The Buffaloes look to build on their season last year with 6 new recruits. The Buffaloes start their season with high hopes of shattering expectations after being ranked 15th out of 16th in the Big 12. You can catch the game at the CU Event Center at 3 p.m.
With the men's basketball team taking on Pomona Pitzer and Tad Boyle's son, Pete Boyle, this week's trivia question is, when was the last time Tad Boyle coached against one of his sons? Stay tuned, we'll have the answer coming up later in the show.
J.R. Payne and the Buffs have had landed another member of their 2025 recruiting class on Saturday. 6'3" forward Jade Crook. The Australian has experience as an international for the land down under, adding more size and strength to the Buffs front court that recently lost stalwarts in Quade Miller and Aaronette Von Lay. Crook is 4th member of Colorado's recruiting class of 2025.
This week, the Buffs women's soccer team struggled offensively. In 2 outings versus UCF and Cincinnati, the Buffs had 2 0-0 draws. Though Colorado created many chances, they could not find the back of the net in either game. The only bright spot for the team this week was through the stellar play of Big 12 Goalkeeper of the Week, Jordan Nitis. The Buffs hope to bounce back next week when they face West Virginia and Utah in their final 2 games.
Colorado's late season battle against West Virginia will be a tough one. Taking place on Sunday at 11 a.m., the matchup between two of the Big 12's top 5 teams will take place in Morgantown. The Mountaineers have only lost one game on their home turf this season. CU will have to be on top of its game to pull off the much-needed win. Following the match, the Buffs will wrap up the regular season at home against Utah, a week from now on October 25th. 2 victories would be huge for the Buffs as they have gone winless since losing to the Big 12's top-seeded TCU Horned Frogs at the beginning of the month. They've dropped to 5th in the Big 12 standings, surrendering their push for a top 2 seed ahead of the conference tournament. At worst, the Buffs could drop to a bottom 4 seed for the tourney. While their eyes are set on a Big 12 championship, late regular season wins and seeding improvements will help the Black and Gold solidify a national tournament berth. Ranked at number 47 in the NCAA's RPI system, CU's national tournament chances have become increasingly jeopardized.
The volleyball team had a strong week on the road, going 2-0. The Buffs beat the UCF Knights on Sunday, winning 3-2. The team then traveled to Tucson, where they beat the Arizona Wildcats 3-2 as well.
The Buffs sit at 10-8 record on the year. The team is coming into this slate of games with a 3-game win streak. They have one more away game before coming back home for play. They take on the Arizona State Sun Devils this Friday in Tempe. The Sun Devils have a 17-2 record on the year. ASU is ranked 18th in the country. The volleyball team takes on West Virginia at home on Wednesday. The Mountaineers have a 7-11 record on the season.
The women's golf team traveled to California to compete in the Stanford Intercollegiate. The first round was played today, with the Buffs finishing near the bottom of the standings with a team score of 13 strokes over par. Freshman Sydney Givens had the best first round by a Buff with a score of 1 stroke over par. The final 2 rounds will be played on Saturday and Sunday.
The tennis team has begun play in the ITA Mountain Region Championship. This tournament is important as the top 2 singles players and the winning doubles team will earn a bid to the NCAA Individual Championship Tournament. The team is looking forward to competing as they have 3 individuals seeded and 2 doubles teams seeded. Aya El Said is seeded 2nd, Mila Staniyevich is 3rd, and Bettina Tokic is the 15th seed. El Said and Pia Rebeck were awarded the 1 seed for doubles, while Staniyevich and Rick van der Werf were given the 4th seed. Coming up, we have all the latest on the Colorado Club programs. Stay tuned and we'll have all that and more after the break.
Who wants to do basketball? Who wants to do football? Who wants to do soccer? Who wants to do volleyball? That's so sick. Did Christian just say videography? Anyone want to do that?
The club baseball team prepares for a doubleheader tomorrow against Colorado State. The team is riding a 4-game win streak into the Rocky Mountain Showdown, which was elected for the NCBA Game of the Week. It's a brief 2-game series starting tomorrow at 11 a.m., streamed exclusively on the Sco Buffs Sports YouTube channel.
The women's club hockey team split the Colorado State Rams this past weekend. The Rams defeated the Buffs night 1 and the Buffs defeated the Rams night 2. The Buffs will be at home at the CU Rec Center to face off the University of Denver Pioneers on Sunday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. You can catch this game on our live stream on our YouTube channel at Sco Buff Sports.
The men's Division I hockey team is back in town this week for their only home series of the month. Later tonight, they'll take on Division II MSU Denver at 8 p.m. That will be their only game of the series, as afterwards they'll prepare for their road trip to Las Vegas to take on the UNLV Rebels. As with all our home club games, you can find those streams right here on our YouTube channel.
Moments after this broadcast, the D2 men's hockey team will take on the Wyoming Cowboys at the CU Rec Center. The Buffs are coming off an electrifying 2-game sweep over Colorado State 2 weeks ago. Fresh off a bye and looking to continue their win streak, Colorado is rolling offensively. With 23 goals combined in their last 3 wins, puck drop is at 5 with the live broadcast on the Sco Buff Sports YouTube channel. So make sure you tune in.
The women's club soccer team has returned to Colorado from Santa Barbara, where they played in the UCSB Invitational. Gold lost to Cal Poly with a score of 3-2, and silver lost to UC Irvine 3-1. After beating UCSB 2-1, Colorado Black went to the finals against Cal Poly where they lost 2-0. They are back this weekend with plenty of games to satisfy the local soccer lovers, starting with 2 games tonight. Yes, you heard that right. At 5 p.m., Colorado White will take on the School of Mines at Kitt Field at 5 p.m., and shortly after that, Gold will be playing DU at Kitt Field at 7 p.m. Tomorrow, the 19th, Gold will have another game, but this time against our rivals, the CSU Rams. They will be playing in Fort Collins at noon. If you want to watch our women's club team play against CSU without having to drive to Fort Collins, you're in luck. Colorado will be back playing the Rams this Sunday, the 20th, at Kitt Field at 2 p.m.
Our men's club soccer team had a successful past weekend, starting out with Colorado Gold beating CSU at home 2-1. Colorado Black then tied with Colorado College 1-1, but came back with the win against Air Force the next day with a score of 4-2. If you're a soccer fan or just want to be outside enjoying this lovely autumn weather while supporting your Buffs, soccer's got you all covered. All of our teams are playing this Sunday the 20th. Black will be the first game of the day against Colorado Mesa at Kitt Field at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And right after that, Gold will play against Wyoming at Kitt Field at noon. White is returning from their bye week and headed off to Greeley to face UNC at noon. That concludes Sunday's slate.
If you missed last week's men's rugby game, you better be ready for tonight. Men's rugby has a game at 5 p.m. against Grand Canyon at the Lower Athletic Field. Make sure to show up and support your fellow Buffs.
Now it's time for our play of the week. We asked you on our Twitter which of these 4 plays was the very best. Was it this tip drill interception by freshman cornerback Colton Hood? Ran all the way down into Buffs territory in the 4th quarter against Kansas State. Was it Shedeur Sanders' throw to Will Shepard, curled around a Wildcat linebacker en route to a Colorado touchdown? Was it this all-out effort from CU volleyball starting with a dig from Sarah Morton and ending with a point during their 5-set win in Arizona? Or was it this ankle breaker from Michelle Rosenbaum leading to a near goal against UCF? The answer will be revealed later in the show.
It's time for the answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, we asked you when was the last time Tad Boyle coached against one of his sons. The answer is, drumroll please, 2019 against Pomona Pitzer. That time around, it was against Tad Boyle's first son, Jack Boyle.
Our tweet of the week comes from former Colorado quarterback and Fox Sports analyst Joel Klatt's response to a controversial play in the final stretch of the game between Colorado and Kansas State. The play was a possible pass interference between Colorado wide receiver Will Shepard and Kansas State corner Keenan Garber. If called, the play would have given CU a first down with a chance to either tie the game or win it.
Now it's time to reveal our play of the week. Another drum roll, please. The winner, receiving 67% of the vote, is Colton Hood. The freshman played this tipped pass from K-State quarterback Avery Johnson perfectly and nearly took it all the way home, but was tripped up by his own man, Preston Hodge. Still an incredible moment for the DB, who entered for the injured Travis Hunter.
Hey Buffs, we have an action-packed weekend for you, so let's jump into it. At 7:30 tonight, playing in Tempe, Arizona, the volleyball team goes up against Arizona State. You can watch that game live on ESPN+. And it looks like the volleyball team is not the only ones heading to Arizona. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., the football team will face Arizona. And last year, the CU team versus Arizona was close and ended 34-31 with Arizona taking the win. I expect this game will be just as exciting to watch live on Fox. If you are looking for something to do on Saturday, head over to the CU Event Center for the men's basketball match against Pyongyang-Pitzer at 3 p.m. To close out the weekend on Sunday, we are looking at another game away in Morgantown, West Virginia. Our soccer team will face off against West Virginia at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. That game will be live streamed on ESPN+. I'm Tyler Phillips, and this is all for this week's Rapid Fire.
Well, that's all we have for this week's show. As always, thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. I'm Leo Rivera.
And I'm Matt Spivak.